Hey everybody, welcome to the Farmgineer. It's been a little while. I apologize for that. Things got really busy both on the farm and at my regular day job as a firmware engineer. So it's been pretty nuts. It's pretty exciting though. I wish I could tell you more about my day job, but it's kind of neither here nor there, but it's also, I don't know how secretive it is. It's not like government secrets, but it's sort of trade secrets and new technology and stuff that you'll see on the store shelves in a couple of years, or maybe a single year, who knows, depending on how crazy my customers decide to be. But what I want to talk to you today about was chicken processing. Now, it's a bit of a weird thing for me to come up with, right? But this is the most recent process that I've been through, and being an engineer, I'm very process-minded. Most of automation really begins, with processing. Making things more efficient, not adding any new technology. Because when you add technology, you create new problems. And most people don't realize that. But if you've ever worked with a new printer or a new phone or a new gizmo, gadget, whatever, it comes with its own problems. So the first thing you want to do is take what you have and make it better. Make it more efficient. Make it run smooth, efficiently, low cost, low time, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? So I took the chicken processing operation that me and my wife run at home, that is just a small operation at the moment, and I quantified it. I got a nice bird's eye view as to how we process chickens. And what happens is when you write something down, it lets you analyze it objectively, taking a step back. It lets you reprioritize and ruminate. Writing stuff down, obviously, is really good because it externalizes what's in your brain and puts it out there, and for you to look at again with fresh eyes at a later time. So I did the same thing with the chickens. I took the amount of time I took each step. So for processing the chickens, I took each individual step, divided them into stations, so how many steps per station, what equipment they needed, how much time it took for every step, what kind of byproducts they created, because byproducts can gum up the process, and then identified what processes are taking up all the time and which one's the bottlenecks. Once you start adding parallelization to a process, it stops becoming obvious as to what you should focus on. And I'll show you here in a second. This Visio diagram is something I put together about an hour after we finished processing 6 Cornish cross chickens. By the way, Cornish cross chickens are pretty great. They look like grocery store chickens, but just way better. They're way better for you, and they live much better lives here on the farm. And just win-win-win all the way around. Also, like, cheaper. It costs like $3 worth of feed to raise one from day old to slaughter time. Right? So they're eating better food, they're living better lives, they're actually getting vitamin D being outside, they have more space, they're able to interact with each other. I almost said play, but Cornish cross chickens are kind of mean, and I wouldn't want to be played with by a Cornish cross chicken. They're kind of mean, they're kind of awful. I didn't feel terribly bad when I was slaughtering them, let me put it that way, and that's pretty bad. Okay. So here on this diagram, this Visio diagram, you start out with the stockyard retrieval. This is us just walking over and picking the chicken up from the pen, okay? So it took 3 minutes to walk over there and walk back. I timed it. It's about a 3-minute walk round trip to go over to my pen. So there's 3 minutes gone right there. It takes about 2 minutes to put the chicken into the cone, the kill cone, slice its throat, and then you have to just leave it for about 10 minutes and let it drain. So the whole point of the kill cone is you want to give it a quick and humane death, of course. Inverting it makes it a bit woozy. It makes it kind of a little bit loopy. Slitting the throat is that much shock to your system. You won't even feel it. I've had major cuts on my leg where I was just gushing out blood. I didn't feel any pain whatsoever. Your body's in just so much shock. And third off, you want to drain the blood out of the chicken's body because you don't want that blood in there when you're gutting it, and you don't want it in there when you're cooking it. So you need a place to drain it. Now, some people just cut the head right off, but I find the draining just doesn't work nearly as well. As macabre as it may be, you do want the heart to continue beating until the very end. When it's finally run out of blood, that's when you fully drained a chicken, and that's when it's a lot easier to work with, okay? So that takes about 10 minutes, I found, to fully drain a chicken. I don't know if there's a way to do that faster. I'm a technical person, but it makes me kind of like wince a little bit if I'm thinking about how I'm going to drain a chicken faster. It's like, what am I going to like provide suction, or am I going to put it into like a big centrifuge and spin it around so all the blood goes out the neck. That sounds messy. That sounds expensive. That sounds like I'd have chickens flying all over my farm. I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to wait 10 minutes. Also, it's inactive time. I can set up, that means I can set up a bunch of cones, up to 5 cones, right? And just have them all draining at the same time and just roll them through. And a lot of people do that. They'll just take the kill cones and put them onto a pole that's a little bit like a little merry-go-round, and they'll just work their way through. It is what it is. All right, so once you have this dead chicken, it's still got its head on, it's still got its feet on, it's still got its feathers on. It's still a full chicken. It just has a big slice in its throat and doesn't have any blood in it. You're gonna go over to the next process, right? This is the chopping block, because you have to take the head off of it to go on to the next steps. The head has no real value. I mean, my dad would probably disagree. He'd probably want to eat its eyeballs or something. I don't know. He's from Indonesia. Eyeballs are really good for you, but I'll just take a multivitamin instead. Anyways, the head doesn't really have a use, so I just chop it with a cleaver and then just push it off to the side into a bucket. Now, I could probably save some time by using a different bucket for both the beheading and then one for the blood, but I just use the same bucket. It's just a lot easier for me, and it's only like 1 minute. So trimming off time where it doesn't matter really is actually way counterproductive. It tells me that someone is desperate and someone doesn't know what they're doing. If they start trying to just shave time and make everything better, you got to pick and choose your battles. And that's going to bring us over to station number 2 here in a second. But then, of course, you got the cleaning basin. After you've chopped its head, and of course you slit the feet by going over the knees. Once you slit the feet, well, not really the knees, they're actually technically the ankles. Once you've taken the feet and the head off, you're just gonna give it a rinse with a hose, get all the feces. The chickens are filthy creatures, so they're just covered in gunk. You wanna get the cloaca, all that stuff, right? So then you go over to station 2. Now, station 2 is where all of the time gets taken. Station 2 is where all of the time gets taken. As you can see, the total here for station 1 was 4 active minutes, 10 inactive minutes. Down here, it's 20 active minutes. That means 20 active minutes of someone sitting there plucking and gutting and doing everything with the chicken. It takes a long time, and it's real hands-on time. There's not really any time used for the scalder. It's an inactive thing. So the scalder isn't scalding hot. It's actually just kind of like a warm bath. It's there to open the pores, so it's more easy to pluck the chicken. So you just dunk the chicken in, leave it in for about 2 minutes, then you pull it back out, and all the feathers will just come right out. Now, the plucking station is what takes a lot of the time. It takes about 10 minutes to fully pluck a chicken by hand. And we're doing it by hand right now. And I'll tell you why here in a second. Is because the plucker is $500, and if you wanted to pluck enough chickens to make it worth the money, you gotta take your hourly rate. I say my hourly rate is $30. That's how much I value my time, because if I was gonna take a toll booth and it was gonna divert me by an hour, it would have to be $30 or more for me to actually go the diversion. So I would waste an hour of my time to save $30, therefore my time is worth $30 an hour. Of course, that's gonna change on a whim, but roughly, that's about what it is. So if it takes 10 minutes to pluck a chicken by hand, that means at a rate of $30 per hour, that is $5 of my time worth per chicken to pluck it. So that means I'd have to pluck about 100 chickens before the money it costs to buy the plucker equals out the amount of time I've spent, right? Because I've converted my time to money. How many of those chickens do I have to pluck before the plucker becomes worth it? It's like 100. It's a lot. It's a lot of chickens. So we're not doing that just yet. And I think I've got some other alternative solutions for how you would pluck more efficiently without having to buy $500 worth of equipment. I've bought some cat and animal grooming gloves that they have little silicone fingers that just like rub through the fur and pull fur out. Now, obviously it's not gonna be as hard as the chicken plucker or grabbing feathers and ripping them out, but it might be good enough with a good enough scald to work and save at least some time on it, right? Obviously the wing feathers are the hardest to pluck. If you can get the body feathers though and make that trivial, just rub the chicken body and get all the feathers off, that saves you like 5 minutes. That cuts your time in half. That means I don't have to worry about, I would have to process 200 chickens to make the chicken plucker worth it. In other words, cuts my cost in time in half for plucking a chicken. That's efficiency, that's good stuff. The feathers are gonna go into the gut bucket, and then the plucked chicken is gonna go over to the gutting table. Now the gutting table, we use a spatchcock method. If you look up spatchcocking, pretty much what it is you take a chicken that you'd like buy in a grocery store and you cut it in half down the middle. And that way you can lay the chicken down, crunch it down, and then you have a flattened chicken. Now, They don't cut it in half completely. They just cut the spine out and then just have this in whole chicken, like in half. But we cut them in half because it's a lot easier to package them. And that way I only have to pull out and thaw out one half of a chicken at a time. I can't really sit down and eat an entire chicken. Well, I can, but I don't want to. It's pretty wasteful, and I feel pretty sick afterwards. I could do it as a challenge. Depends on what kind of hot sauce. If you got Nando's hot sauce, I will probably eat the whole chicken. If the whole chicken is fried in the Publix style, if it's like a Publix fried chicken, I can eat that whole in one sitting. But then again, feel very sick. I gotta take like a week off. It's bad. So the gutting has already been made more efficient with the spatchcock method. Opening up the chicken like that means that I have access to all the guts. You just gotta reach in and scoop them out. And it's a new process, which means we're getting more efficient at it. We're getting more used to it. When you introduce a new process to staff, including myself and my wife, it takes a little time to, have the time settle out. As we get more used to it, we're gonna get faster at it. So I don't know if it's really gonna take 10 minutes in the future. We might just shave it down to 5 minutes by pure virtue of us doing it more and more and more. So I don't need to make that more efficient. Once you've made something more efficient, you've made a process change, you need to let it settle out, because if you keep trying to fiddle with it, you're just gonna make everyone, including yourself and your wife, crazy. So don't do that. You got enough crazy on this farm. Gutted, plucked, spatchcock the chicken. You're gonna go down to kitchen sink, sanitize the chicken in the kitchen, just to cleaning off the chicken, really. Just making sure it's ready for packaging, and then the packaging itself. Now the packaging takes about 10 minutes. It's up there. It's the top 3. It's tied for the top 3 most time-consuming active minutes in this entire process. But what I wasn't doing that day was pre-cutting and sealing the bag. So what you do is you have a big roll of vacuum seal bag, and how that works is that you're supposed to seal one end of the bag, pull it down, cut it, and now you have a bag with one end open and one end closed. We didn't quite know how much of the roll to dispense to seal on the bag, but now we know it's about 3.5 ticks, which means if I already know how big it needs to be, I can go cut a bunch of those before we even start working and turn it into a setup operation, or just sit down and crank them out, or even better, go buy pre-cut, pre-sealed bags. So I can just drop the chicken in, hit the seal thing, hit the seal button, and then go. It turns this thing into like a 10-minute operation into about a 5-minute, if not a 2-minute operation, with about 1 minute of sitting around time, right? Just waiting for it to seal. Just drop the chicken in, put that bag into the vacuum sealer, hit the button, sit back, and wait for a nice sealed, airtight chicken in a bag. Then it goes off to the freezer. Now, of course, we got some byproducts here. You can see there's liver and casings. These are parts of the guts. Waste not, want not. And I would love to try a chicken liver pate. I've never had it. Apparently my mother-in-law is really good at making that, so I'm gonna look forward to that. But that's the whole chicken process, right? So the reason why this is parallelized is because station number 1 only has 4 active minutes, and station number 3 only has 12 active minutes. Both of those active minutes don't even add up to station 2's active minutes. Station 2 has 20 active minutes. So this is what me and my wife did. I worked station 1 and station 3, and she just worked station 2. So I was running between 2 stations. We've parallelized the process. We've taken what was gonna take 36 minutes per chicken, because that's the lead time it takes to go from live chicken to processed and bagged chicken. And we turned it into about 20 minutes because we're both doing it. Both doing it parallel. Now, if you're doing something in parallel and you try to save time in the wrong place, you're just gonna make things more difficult, and you're gonna make things more annoying, and you're gonna have a lot of process changes. There's no reason for me to make the kill cone go faster. There's no reason at all for me to make the chopping block go faster, or the cleaning basin go faster, or even anything in station 3, really, right? I don't have to make station 3 go faster, because my big problem, the parallelization, is I've got a 20-minute block, an employee that's taking 20 minutes to do a job, and an employee that's taking 16 minutes to do the job. And if I want these people to match up better, I need to make that 20 minutes look more like 16 minutes, and then I can bring them both down. Then I can bring them both down in terms of time. But you gotta work on the longest tent pole in the tent, right? That's what people say. The longest stick needs to get cut down. Once everyone's sort of equal in amount of time spent, that means you have 100% utilization of your employees in your parallel production line. Then everyone sort of needs to move lockstep, because if I save station 3 5 minutes now, well, now I've brought that station 3 down to 7 minutes, and station 1 is still at 4 minutes, and still 20 minutes for station 2 where my wife is working, right? If she can cut her plucking in half and her gutting in half down to 5 minutes and 5 minutes, that means she now is at 10 minutes total for her active time, and I'm at 11 minutes. That's a lot more even. So really, we're gonna work on getting the plucking faster, and we're gonna work on getting the gutting faster. Those are the things to focus on. So me writing all this stuff down kind of seems like someone overanalyzing, or I'm being reductionist, or I'm being an engineer. I'm taking all the heart, soul out of chicken processing, apparently. The idea is that once you've written something down, you can begin to understand it, because it could take years and years to come to the same epiphanies and realizations of a process if you don't write it down, versus me, who has done this. Maybe this is my third time I've done a chicken slaughter, and I am analyzing things in a way that someone who has 10 years of experience are doing it, right? Me writing it down has given me a 10-year advantage on everybody else. I'm thinking about it, and I've outsourced a lot of that organization onto this paper, where I can catalog everything, understand everything, and then see it in its context. You can learn a lot from a piece of paper with some drawings on it. You can learn a lot by just writing stuff down and really thinking about it. This level of analysis is how you make things more efficient. I get paid a well over six-figure salary to make these exact kinds of drawings, okay? These are no joke. Analyzing things is how you make things better. It's basic, it seems too easy, it might seem like I'm being weird about it, but this is what happens when you take an engineer and you throw them in the middle of a homestead and a farm, and you make them behave like an engineer. I'm not treating this farm like it's a train set and some sort of hobby. I'm treating it like it's a job, because I believe that people deserve the respect and the benefit of me at my best when I'm trying to help them. And I'm trying to help you, the viewer. We're gonna work on this together, and I'm gonna let you know how those new process improvements work out, and I'm gonna catalog all this stuff and have it in a proper process that you can just follow like a procedure. One thing I really don't like about a lot of chicken processing is that their instructions are extremely vague. It just has like a cartoon picture of a chicken. It says, yeah, put knife here. It's like, what? How deep? How should I make a slit? How deep is the slit? How do I keep the chicken's head, anchored? Because the chickens have, a skull and skin, and they kind of slip out of places, right? There's a certain way to hold the chicken. There's a certain way to hold the chicken's skull. There's a certain way to hold the knife. There's a certain way to put pressure with the knife on the chicken's neck and then draw the knife across it so that you get 100% success. You do not want to be thinking on the fly or reacting to the chicken as you're trying to do the killing stroke. It's already awkward. It's already weird enough that you're ending a creature's life, right? You're doing the killing stroke. It's kind of a high pressure moment. You're gonna sit there and you're gonna breathe in a lot. It's gonna be real awkward, you standing there looking at that chicken and it looking at you, and you're gonna be feeling really, really weird. You're not gonna be thinking about how to make the cut. You're gonna be thinking about, man, this is weird, I don't like this. If you make a procedure and you have someone follow something from muscle memory, and you teach them what the muscle memory feels like and is, they can just do the procedure and it's no problem. I show them. It's like your first time on the job and your boss shows you exactly how to do something. Like, this is how you pick up the dolly. This is how you lift the heavy box. This is how you do all this stuff. And they show you, and you monkey see, monkey do. And it's no longer just a picture in a book with a line on the neck. We need better processes and better procedures for homesteading. The processes and procedures we have right now are so vague, and they're written by people who've been doing this their whole lives. That is exactly who you don't want to be getting taught by, because it's second nature to them. People who have things as second nature don't question what they do, and they don't really understand what it's like to learn it because it was learned so long ago. It's like if you're trying to teach someone how to breathe. It's like, well, can you really even describe what your chest and your stomach and your throat and your mouth and everything is doing if you're going to describe how to breathe? Try describing the color blue. Some people can just see the color. Some people can't. Like, some people can just, slaughter the chicken, and some people can't, right? You got to be able to describe these things in detail. So having someone who just learned it before you and has recently gotten good at it, like recently gotten good at it, like me, perfect person to learn from. Someone who's been doing it their whole lives, not so much. It can get really bad. Sometimes you get a really good teacher and they can overcome that, but I find it's usually not the case. Those people are very rare. If you find that person, make friends with them, go have coffee with them, learn about them, be friends with them. They're very valuable. Those are like the gems in the rough. But most people, if they're a natural at it, they're not gonna be able to teach you it. It's gonna be really tough for them. We need better procedures. We need a better way of documenting what we do, and we need a better way of analyzing things that we do in the homestead community. I'm the FarmGineer, and I'm here to apply my engineering practices to homesteading. We're gonna make things more efficient. We're gonna make things better, more repeatable, more reliable, and measurable. Quantifiable success is the only success I really care about, because this is a business. This is survival. This is your family's future. This is your family's food. And I'm not here to turn into some woo-woo magic crystal crap, okay? We're gonna do it. Now you keep on growing.